Morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Steph Kershaw, Channel Sales Manager at Magento, and I'm your MC for the platform track. So you've joined us on the platform track, and up next we have Ray Bogman, who's a Senior Business Solution Architect at Adobe. And today he's going to be talking to us about the 10 building blocks of digital transformation, looking at the innovation matrix. We do have time at the end for questions, so please submit your questions in the Q&A or chat box. But for the next 30 minutes, I'm going to hand over to Ray. Thanks, Ray.
Thank you very much, so much. Well, first of all, let me welcome you to this great event, the Magento 2020 version. Unfortunately, we're not in person this year, but we still want to make this as fun as possible, although we are not physically capable on giving each other a hug, I would say, in this crazy period. So let me get to the next slide. As already shared, my talk is about the changing of the digital world through the innovation matrix. So again, a little bit on my end is that, again, I'm Ray Bogman, Senior Business Solution Architect for Magento now for 2.5 years. I started with the Magento product in 2008, an early beta version, and over the last, I would say 12 years already, I managed to help numerous out there from training to support, and now also throughout digital change, hopefully within the innovation matrix. So let's get into this specific journey. What are we addressing? And definitely now in this strange period, I mean, we are currently in COVID and driven by the critical role on experience today and how that changes the digital landscape, of course, our business strategy, well, they need to focus, of course, on empowering people to create and transform how businesses is completed. That's one of the main objectives that we have, of course, within Adobe and Magento, of course. Well, in the combination that we see from the Magento product, it's more brought together to be an undisputed leader to create this great digital experience with the world and the most flexible platform available. I want to ask you the following, what kind of options do we have if we are looking at digital transformation, the change? Or we want to stay put and run business as usual, or do we want to express our business and improve it now? I would say, I mean, with this COVID stuff and looking at what has been accomplished over the e-commerce in the last several months, I see a lot of businesses changes. So I think that's why I think it's good to bring this up. What kind of choice do we have? And in this case, I would like to ask you the following. Are we going with the blue pill? Everything stays the same, or are we choosing the red pill? Time to improve our business. Well, hopefully you've seen some similars in this. This is an expression by Morpheus, by the famous movie, of course, The Matrix. He explains to Neo that the Matrix is an illusion world created to prevent humans from discovering that they are slaves to the external influence. Well, we as a business, of course, can relate to that in some changes. So that's why it's really important to ask our questions now at most, what's the last change and what can we do? So do we want to take the blue pill and the story ends? We wake up in a bed and we believe whatever you want to believe, or is this now the time in digital transformation to take this red pill? You stay in Wonderland, and I will show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. And remember, all I'm offering here is just the truth, nothing more. So let me continue. One interesting thing within this digital transformation is that we can split it in two components. We have the plant and we have the soul. The plant more or less relates to the customer experience. And we can change one or two or many customer experiences by just adding more trees. If we want the organization to change, it's about the fertile ground. So making sure that the ground that we are in is as fertile as possible, that will help us grow from a business perspective. And this is how we create these 10 building blocks that we can use, of course, as a checklist when the subject is to a digital transformation. But please remember, not all the blocks are needed at all times. They can be added, as needed. So it really depends on how your business looks. So I will go into what kind of business blocks are we currently using. So the 10 business blocks are following. We have vision, we have customer, value proposition, innovation capabilities, our partner network, the way of working, technology, data, the people, and the business, of course. And again, we are not subjected to the era of change, but to the change of an era. So let's dive a little bit more deep on the specifics here. Like I already mentioned, we have our vision. So my question to you would be, who are we? You know, what do we do? What's our business vision for the next couple of years? And as an example, and I think this one was really interesting for me as personal, Philips, a Dutch company, they decided in 2015 they wanted to release the Lightning division. And they sold this division because they wanted to focus more on the data component. So Philips by itself, they started more focusing on the medical department, and they cut loose the whole Lightning department, which was pretty strange back in the day. But now we see over time that making this really good decision and having a vision can help them to endeavor what's suitable in this day and age. Customers. Are we serving the correct customer? Sometimes I'm asked myself as well, you know, what kind of customers do we have? Does this really fit the business vision? For example, there was a large Dutch market leader who sells condoms online, and he was not even aware that his biggest customer group was young teenage girls between the age of 15 and 20. And back in the day, those were buying an iPhone 4. So that's, again, you know, some time back. But I think it's really important sometimes to relate to who is your customer. And if you're not familiar with your customer, definitely use all the data and everything necessary to make sure you're up to speed. Value proposition. In 1997, Reed Hastings received a fine in the amount of $40 when returning a late video at the local video store. So you probably would guess, like, who's this Reed Hastings guy? Well, he's currently the CEO of Netflix. And that became, of course, the birth of Netflix. You know, we were used to these blockbuster video stores. So he created a total new business value proposition, which was called back in the day rental by mail. So it was possible to order this video. It was mailed to you. You could view it as much as possible. You could return it, and you would get another one. And that was all based on a subscription model, flat fee. Looking at the innovation capabilities, we see that organizations with a lot of customer experience doesn't need to, an organization or customer experience who doesn't renew is dead. I think hopefully that makes sense. So for example, I mean, Netflix, they created this homemade content on the fly, you know, a lot of series, a lot of movies just created by Netflix, which really was profitable from an innovation standpoint because these were the only ones they created and they could expose and get as much valuable from that as well. So the R&D doesn't always need to be an internal process. You can use your customer base or other external options that fits within your organization. The art in innovation is to organize a way which fits with the core principles of the organization and have maximum impact on the transformation. Partnership network. Using the correct partner within your ecosystem can be very important. Working together with partners like eBay, Uber, Airbnb, Amazon, and so many more could be a good fit. But make sure that innovation partners, for example, like Nike or similar, could be many beneficials on all sides. And a really nice example that I was part of as well is a brand called Pata. They are a sneaker company in the Netherlands, and they're internationally known. They started working with Nike. And what they created was this limited edition sneaker, which was released a couple of times a year. So making sure that your partnership is well known and grow can also benefit your digital transformation. The way of working. And one of the most important building blocks, the way we work divides us from the rest. How agile are we? For example, Zara's, that's a fashion company, they have a strategy which is mind-blowing. Once all the new designs have been created, the following next 2 days, they will be available in all shops globally, worldwide. That's pretty impressive, I would say. It takes a lot of organizational skill, but that's currently in their DNA. So I would ask you this, what's your way of working? What's your DNA? Technology, you know, for companies like Tesla or General Electric, it's a cornerstone for their existence. But for example, there's this Dutch company called ANWB, also known as the Royal Dutch Touring Company. They started measuring the driver skills of the driver and use this to give them a discount to the car insurance. Or the Dutch Home Shopping Trademark Organization, they developed an algorithm to show how much CO2 is spent when shopping online and when it's being delivered. That's really new technology which was never created before, and they're now adopting this between our digital transformation. Then, of course, we have data. I think one of the more key components within our digital transformation in general. So data is this key ingredient when moving forward. But are we using the correct data and using this data correctly? Well, Magento, of course, offers many opportunities and data science components like Magento BI to get as much data from our Magento instance and showing you how it can be used to use that particular data and create new business upon that. And then nonetheless, of course, our team. Our team, your company, your team, your people, transformation has a major impact on the people you hire. Work with or say goodbye to. The cornerstone is the keystone to this module. You know, finding the right people is a key component. And I can imagine, you know, growing up with this team, but making sure that all the people within the company make sense while going through this digital transformation always makes sense. So make sure that people have all the elements needed for creating you through this digital transformation. The business module, how do we manage our objectives? You know, when investing at least cost, what's the result? And what are we prepared to do this about? How can we manage our pricing module when looking at our customers and partners? What needs to be updated in our model? So now we have seen the definement of our 10 building blocks. How can we merge them now together in this innovation matrix? Well, it looks easier. It's easier than it might look. If we list all the building blocks into a matrix and we compare them against, of course, the organizational change, you know, remember in the beginning that we were talking about the soil and the tree, and we have our customer experience. We will get the following. I created this matrix online, and hopefully everybody can view this efficiently. We see that if we're looking at the organizational change and we're looking at the vision, the question that we need to ask ourselves is, who are we? What are we doing? From the customer experience point of view, what's our vision? And what's the current, what's the current customer experience is based on? From a customer standpoint, establish which customer and user the company is targeting. From the customer experience point of view, what kind of, for which customers and users is their customer experience needed? Value proposition, how will the company structurally surprise those customers? Customer experience, how do these customers and users benefit from it? Innovation capabilities, create innovative capacity. Customer experience, how are we going to constantly renew the new customer experience? Partner network, close agile partnership. And from the customer experience, with which partners do we want and how to deliver this customer experience? Following the next 5 components, the way of working within the organizational change. Question that we should ask: be a flexible organization. Customer experience: what does the new delivery organization look like? Technology, and I think it's a little bit overlapping now. Let me do a quick update here. Sorry for the interruption. It's hard to fix this in a minute because it's overlapping. Organization, sorry, within technology, organize technology intelligence. Let me switch to the next slide. Within customer experience, which new technology are being used? From the data perspective, professionalize data management, engage in data science. Customer experience, which data do we use and which data is delivered? People, give space to thinkers and abstract new people. What kind of people provide this customer experience from the customer experience side? And last but not least, define an appropriate mix of earning models. And from the customer experience side, what's the underlying earnings model itself? So while looking further the line, the question that we need to ask ourselves is, how do we level this in an innovation complex? So these innovation levels are key when addressing digital transformation, and they help us to understand the matrix in where we are. Like Morpheus already told us, remember, all I'm offering here is the truth, nothing more. So what kind of levels do we have? Level 1 is no change. Everything stays the same, business as usual. Level 2 is a small change, nothing major, but a small impact to the organization or to the customer. Level 3, now it's getting interesting. It's known, but new to the business. The idea is being used globally, but for this particular module, it needs to be implemented still. And last but not least, this is the complete transformation level that's completely new. Everything will be done and done from scratch. So if we mix the 10 building blocks and the innovation levels together, and we map them against a change, we will create this matrix. Creating this innovation matrix can be done before, during, or after. And again, like I mentioned in the beginning, not all of it has to be created all at once. It could be that some of the components within this innovation matrix can be done pretty early on, and while going through, they need to be updated. Interesting one is a case that I found from Zara. So I mentioned already, Zara is this fashion company. They started using RFID. And this fashion store, they changed their strategy within the upcoming collection. While using this RFID tag within their clothing, they were able to create a path on visualizing where which clothing was used and which one was bought. You can imagine when fitting those elements together, a lot of data points will be shared. And based on that data point, they could optimize the whole business strategy and selling more product and be more efficient and be more customer centric. So this innovation matrix was a special digital transformation. And it looks as this. If we look at it, we see that only 3 components, well, more or less 4, really stood out. Looking ahead to this RFID, we see that the way of working drastically needed to change. We see that the innovation capabilities in regards, of course, to the RFID needs to be changed. But it was already a known product. RFID wasn't new, but the way they started using this was pretty new for them. The technology, of course, that was also known, but also new to them. And what's totally new was, of course, the data. The data output that they received was they could use this data for future reference on how to sell more products within this store capability. Looking at a different example, and I really like this one while creating it, was the Apple Store, of course. I guess everybody's familiar with Apple now over the last decades. They created, of course, the Apple Store by itself, but by using that, the whole digital transformation was totally new on so many levels. The only thing which wasn't new was the team and the people, because there was no change. But while using that team and people, they needed to change from vision to the business module on all levels. So if you count with me, there were only 7 levels which were totally new. 8 levels which were totally new, and only 2 ones that could be reusable. So looking ahead to see how your digital transformation could look like, using this as an example or going into your organization would definitely benefit how to address this. So how do we apply this? Well, we can, of course, create a checklist, again, based on the most known components from the building blocks that we can use. Ask the innovation team to formulate their ideas into this matrix and create a challenge upon that. Then we have our organizational impact. The higher the change, the more impact within the organization. And last but not least, the impact into the markets. How does it really impact our new customers? You know, what's really there? How do we create it and what's impacting? And you can, of course, imagine that this doesn't happen overnight. So definitely be aware if you create it, over time, adjust it where needed. So my big question here is, are we gonna dodge bullets, or are we taking actions and create an innovation matrix for our or yours digital transformation? You know, or do you prefer to go back and stay using the blue pill? It's up to it's up to you now to decide if you want to go ahead and use the digital transformation within your organization. If there's any need for having any help on this behalf, please reach out to our Magento Professional Services organization. Not only besides digital transformation, but also many other levels within our consultancy agency internally, we can help you. Of course, as you know, we have direct access to our Magento product and our engineers. And this is a small list of some of the customers we've helped out throughout the last couple of years, which we are pretty proud about. I would like to thank you so much for your time, for engaging in this session. And if there's any questions, please let me know now. But also otherwise you can reach out and send me an email directly or use Twitter if there's any question related to you. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Ray. Fantastic presentation, so much information. Couple of questions for you. You talk about the team. Is there anyone in your opinion who are real key stakeholders when it comes to digital transformation that can maybe have influence on others if companies are struggling to get a team on board around this innovation piece? Are there any key stakeholders, roles that you've seen that take it on board more than others?
I've seen several. I mean, within an organization, some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller, but if it would be possible having strategic account level, that will be, of course, really helpful. Otherwise, I would say definitely having the main stakeholders, the leaders, the ones who are within the organization who see change happening. But I've seen also people within the technical team who address really great ideas and share them with their supervisors or managers to say, okay, guys, if we want to go a particular route, maybe this is the way to move forward. So it could come from all levels. You know, sometimes it comes from top to bottom, but having this ability for being as agile and flexible as possible, I would say whatever idea would be possible could help an organization move forward and use the best possible reason to have going through this digital innovation.
Okay, thank you. Another question. You talk about the 10 blocks and obviously the 10 components of the matrix. for a company to have a successful digital transformation, do all blocks need to be accomplished, or is there some more important than others? Would you be able to tier them of importance?
That's a really good one. Like I stated in the beginning, they are not always mandatory. We've seen organizations, for example, from a governance standpoint, is that they needed to really update the organization internally before they could even move publicly up to the front. So it really depends on what kind of components do I need to now to make sure. You can imagine if you do all 10 at once, that will be really having a major impact within the organization. But going easy on the ones which are feasible and realistic, I would say do them first. And over time, make sure what's the vision, of course. You know, a vision component is one of the things that really helps the organization move forward, and use the other ones to combine that.
Okay. I have no more questions at this minute. I think everyone's just wowed by all the information. It was really useful. Appreciate that anyone can reach out to you as well. So please, if you do have questions, reach out to Ray directly. Thanks so much, Ray. We now are going to be breaking for lunch, but we will be back online at 12:30 for a comedy set with impressionist Danny Posthill. That's going to be on the main stage, so you just join the main stage. I can't wait for that. I just want to say thanks again to JH for making this event happen, along with our sponsors, because we wouldn't be here without them. And our next presentation on the platform track will be at 13:10, so 1:10 after lunch and after the entertainment during the lunch break. And we will be kicking off after lunch with Vikrant. So thanks everyone for joining, and we'll see you after lunch. Enjoy the entertainment.